Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center. And it's that time of the week where we take a look at the coolest new knives that have hit our shelves. Let's check them out. Alright, we're going to start off today with a fixed blade and one of the biggest, baddest, Mac-daddiest of fixed blades of them all. We've got a Randall Smithsonian Bowie in stock right now while I'm filming this, and it should be available the day that this video goes up. Although for how long that is available, who's to say? It's a really cool blade. $1,300, but there's no weight on this. I think Randall's waiting list still numbers in the years, but you can get this right now. And what a just cool piece. Normally I wouldn't have, when I'm filming this today, just to give you a little behind the scenes, this wasn't even added to our site yet, but I saw it on our custom buyer's desk and it stopped me in my tracks. So I had to bring it here to show it to you guys as well. It's just really, really awesome piece. Got a monster blade here, 11 inches long, 5/16 of an inch thick, stainless steel, razor sharp edge, and this back edge of the clip is also sharpened as well. Definitely a knife that I wouldn't be afraid to beat on, or maybe I would actually. There's a lot of money. But just the stag alone on this particular piece, just look at that. And stag, just as a raw material, has gotten crazy expensive in recent years. Just the raw material for that piece right there would probably cost you or me $200 to get our hands on, just to make a knife out of. Just such a cool blade. Now we do have a sheath with this, black leather, nice sharpening stone there, and a pocket on the front. But what's more to say? It's a Model 12 Smithsonian Bowie from Randall. I probably never would have held one of these if I didn't work here, so I wanted to share it with you guys while I was at it. I might as well keep with the fixed blades for now. I've got a new KnifeCenter exclusive. This is the DoubleStar Pathseeker and our exclusive orange and black G10 handles. Really great color combination for an outdoor knife, specifically for a survival knife like this. This comes in decently priced for what you're getting, about $150. Made in the USA, 80 CRV2 carbon steel. Really popular steel with the blacksmiths and forgers out there because it is crazy tough. And it's definitely going to perform really well as a survival knife with this nice thick blade. Runs about 1/4 of an inch. Black oxide or black stonewash type of finish right there. Kind of a classic mod or a updated take on a classic survival knife. It reminds me a bit of some of the old Dartmoor Creed survival knives, the Wilkinson swords, that sort of thing from the 80s back in the UK especially, but just kind of updated a little bit. We've got a stout saber grind here, nice sharp edge. Better have a nice sharp edge, it's a knife after all. On the back of the spine right here, near the back, right in front of where your thumb would rest if you were holding the knife like so, you do have a 90-degree edge right here, but it's not the edges of the spine. It actually comes to a single apex. So not only can you use that as a scraper for a fire steel, but you could also use it as like a small bone breaker. If you were using this as a hunting knife, you could have a little bit of an impact effect right there with that little section. We've also got a nice Kydex sheath, some of the thickest Kydex I've ever seen on a Kydex sheath. They're definitely going for durability here. And it does come with a tech lock attachment, so you can carry it in a few different configurations if you want. Upside down, right side up, horizontal, you name it. Now, if you like some of DoubleStar's more tactical oriented designs, we've got their Fang as well in this KnifeCenter exclusive color, as well as a few of their other models, but these are the new ones right now. All right, now we've got a new budget knife coming in about $32, and I think this is definitely going to be one of the best budget knives released this year, even though it may look kind of unassuming. This is the CJRB Ria. We've got a nice small blade, a bit under 3 inches, paired with a very, I hesitate to say nondescript, but a very simple handle shape. Really, this kind of fits to me what an old school case knife might be if it were designed today as opposed to back in the day. Just a solid everyday carry pocket knife that's small enough to carry with you wherever, but big enough to get a lot of most of your day-to-day jobs done. And what's so special about these, you may have seen this when we debuted it at our Blade Show Week interviews with Artisan Cutlery and CJRB, but the action on this is so good. It's a right hand only setup with a single thumb stud, but they've placed it at just the perfect place next to the pivot, bearings in the pivot, of course. The first time I flicked it open, I thought it might be assisted, but it's not. It's just that good of an opening action. And really good price too. Materials are nice, 12C27 stainless steel, so you get a nice fine edge, good toughness out of this stainless steel, and you'll be able to get that really sharp edge without too much trouble. This is an easy to maintain steel. There's a few different versions. We've got a gray G10 here, although it has a little bit of a blue hue to it, which is nice. But if you like this one, it is going to say gray on our website. And it's got a little bit of a contour as well, so it's not just a flat side or a flat slab. So it's a little bit more comfortable. And a deep carry pocket clip, right side only. Again, as I mentioned, the liner lock and the thumb stud are right side only. Sorry for the lefties out there, but if you are a righty, it's going to take up no room in your pocket whatsoever. It's going to be very satisfying to flip out. And like I said, a few different other versions. There is a carbon fiber, and those scales are flat. They aren't radiused on this one. We've also got a jade G10, and there's a fourth variant in micarta as well, green canvas. And this one features Artisan Cutlery's new RPM 9 particle steel, which is they designed it as a budget-oriented particle steel. So this still only comes in at about $52, despite that particle metallurgy process. And when we asked them what they were going for, during that SHOT Show interview, they told us they wanted something that would give you sort of the edge retention of a D2, but be a lot easier to sharpen, hone, and maintain. They actually sent me one to play around with for a while, and I gotta say, while I haven't A-B'd it against a D2 knife, I have found the edge retention to be very good, and it has been very easy to strop back to sharp whenever I've needed to. Very easy steel to take care of, and it's going to take care of you as well. It's definitely an exciting material, and we're going to see that on more than just some of the CJRB stuff, which is of course Artisan Cutlery's budget subsidiary. We're going to see that on some of the full Artisan models in time as well. All right, next up I've got a knife here from Bestech. This is a new O-stop Hell design called the Ivy, coming in at just about $204 right now. And it's definitely a striking design, and it's not at all my style. It's not something I would typically gravitate to at all. But when I did pick it up and start playing around with it, it's actually grown on me pretty much, or it's grown on me pretty nicely. I've got a few different variants, anodized titanium frames. These are front flippers, and I've got the black stone wash here and a satin finish here on the top. Really cool number of finishes to check out. But the hawkbill blade is a bit over 3 inches, S35 VN steel, and the hawkbill is not so aggressive that it kind of precludes some EDC usage. It is specialized, of course. It's not as versatile as a drop point like that CJRB has, but it's definitely useful if the types of cutting you do a lot are going to lend itself to a blade like this. I can think like a lot of fibrous stuff like rope or cordage is going to work really well. Maybe you work in a warehouse and you've got pallet straps to get under, zip ties. It's going to be very nice with that fine point and that upturn to the tip. Even breaking down cardboard. This is a really good shape for that type of task because as you're slicing through the cardboard, the tip, since it's not kind of trailing up and away, it is going to dig in and not slip out as you cut. So you might get a bit more aggressive performance in that type of task as well. Or maybe you're just looking for something a little bit different for your next everyday carry, and this certainly is a little bit different. Titanium frame lock, as I mentioned, right side pocket clip only, but it's a nice milled piece at least. And it is, like I mentioned, a front flipper. You've got ball bearings in the pivot. Pardon my fumble there. I've got a little bit of a sore thumb right now, and I've never been the best at that anyway. But really cool shape, really cool designer, put together really well. Bestech Ivy. All right, next up, actually a little bit more expensive even than that Randall. We've got a new batch of Manticore out the front automatics right now, and this is a custom Manticore S coming in at $1365. And this is another one that as soon as I kind of opened it up and took a look at it, it really almost took my breath away. Not quite. I've got a pretty strong constitution, but look at how beautiful this OTF is. Nice smaller size, 2.5 inches with this blade. And we have a spirograph Damascus blade that's been hand ground, and that slides in and out on excellent action, I must say, on this just beautiful chassis. It's a stainless steel. We've got a black DLC coating, as well as marbled carbon fiber inlay set off by some brushed finish on that steel right there. Looks fantastic, and we've got kind of the reverse of this as well. Another version that is lighter rather than darker like this, but I just love it. On the back, marbled carbon fiber as well, flamed titanium pocket clip, nice ball for the pinch point right there, and marbled carbon fiber switch as well, rather than being a metal piece. and the action's just, it's not like a loud thwack. A little bit more on the retraction, but deploying the blade, it's almost a classy type of snick. Really, just very cool. I don't know what more to say about it other than if you don't see this, or if you see this and you don't think it's awesome, you don't get it. It's really cool. All right, if you want a fancy Damascus blade on a premium folder, but you don't want to spend that much, got one here for about half of that price. $650 for this Chris Reeve large Sebenza 31 with a Damascus blade. This is actually a Chad Nichols Damascus with his raindrop pattern, just with the classic drop point Sebenza blade. We're finally starting to see more of these Sebenza 31s show up with a little more regularity. At least I hope that still continues to be the case. But this particular one has the stonewashed. This one has the bead blasted titanium frame, bead blasting all around. One of the tweaks they made from the 21 is they've angled the pocket clip here so it no longer rests on the lock bar itself. Open up the blade. It's got that characteristic smoothness of a Chris Reeve and that super tight lockup. You know, everyone says bank vault lockup, and I don't want to be a cliche, so it has, we'll say, fail-safe lockup. I don't know. Another little tweak they did, they've got the ceramic ball interface on the edge of the end of the lock bar itself that they pioneered on the Incosi model, rather than the old titanium on steel interface of the 21s. But at the end of the day, it's a Sebenza, just the latest and most highly refined version of it so far. It's definitely a world-class knife and one of my favorite designs on the market. All right, next up we've got a few new Liong Ma designs. These are built by Ria in China for Liong, and if you are familiar with Ria stuff at all, you know they do a great job. This is the Lanny V2 Flipper, comes in at $440, and there's a few different versions of it. My favorite one is the jigged titanium version right here, which you can see has this sort of, this jigged finish that's sort of meant to mimic some of the old school bone slip joints out there, but you've got a completely modern knife that it's built around. But you've also got ones with inlays of marbled carbon fiber and green canvas. What's impressive about this knife in this configuration, especially to me, is you've got 3¼ inches of M390 steel, not super thin. You've got a good amount of beef there, but the handles are really light. This whole knife doesn't weigh a whole lot at all. Let's see, what are we looking at here? Just over 4 ounces for this, which is not too bad. You know, certainly it's not a Benchmade bug out territory, but those materials are super light. But it balances really well in the hand, almost perfectly at that index finger point, which on any kind of folding knife is really hard to do. They're usually very handle heavy. Now the action is also very good. This being a Ria knife, you've got ball bearings in the pivot, crisp flipping action, titanium lock bar with the steel insert, everything you want in a titanium frame lock flipper, really. The clip point blade there is certainly useful day to day, but you've got some compound grinds to keep things interesting. Hollow ground main section, the edge is nice and thin, so even though the blade is a little bit on the thicker side, you've got some good geometry right there. And then flat ground here at the tip for a little more strength when you're piercing. And don't do any prying with this, but if you're having to jab the tip into something, you'll get a little bit more robustness out there. Now, a lot of the bullet points on this next Liong Ma are exactly the same. Titanium frame lock flipper, made by Ria, excellent flipping action, M390 steel, but it's a little bit larger, about 3.7 inches on the blade, and it comes in at $465 right now. Maybe I should tell you what the knife is called. This is the Warrior 2. The Warrior 2 V3 to be specific. And you've got this upswept Tonto blade, kind of a Quaken style of shape, hollow ground there at the main section and flat there at the tip, just like that previous knife. Now you do have a definitive grind here, or a definitive transition like you see on a lot of American style Tontos, but it's not, the edges here aren't perfectly straight. Of course you can see that real easily on the leading edge. You've got a significant amount of belly there, but even the back edge has a gradual and continual belly along the whole section of it. So it's really going to make a pretty decent slicing profile overall with that kind of shape. And you've got your green canvas and your marbled carbon fiber inlay options, but you've also got a burlap, a polished burlap micarta, which does come in on both sides, and I really am enjoying that particular material on this knife. I really like the way this knife folds up too. The blade almost completely disappears, so it's a nice streamlined, clean look in the pocket. The pocket clip integrates nicely with the back edge right there. It is a milled pocket clip, and then you've got your inset liner loop, or inset lanyard loop there at the end as well. Now the action, as I mentioned, is quite good. I will say though, when you're flipping, make sure not to put your pocket or your finger right in front of this pocket clip. Make sure you're either behind or more in front of it, because the weight of that blade flicking open can actually push that into your finger just a little bit. I found it a little bit uncomfortable actually, which is just kind of funny, kind of interesting. But in normal use, certainly when you're holding the knife, it's not creating a hot spot for me. This is just as comfortable as most other folders happen to be out there. But certainly a classy bigger knife, and I think it's going to pair well with this next accessory, which comes from Benchmade. It's the new standard version of their, or a new standard version of their cigar cutter. The auto axis cigar cutter, this one comes in at $212.50 to be exact. This is cheaper than some of the previous versions, or less expensive than some of the previous versions they've had, but still built to the same standards. I really like the rich light handles on this especially. It has sort of a more subdued look. It's not as flashy, but I still think it's a really classy piece. Certainly going to look at home at whatever cigar bar you're in these days, or whatever cigar bars are going to be opened up later once this COVID kind of clears its course. But it's a real cool piece. Now you do have an axis lock here to keep the blade closed, and it is spring loaded, so all you have to do is pull back on that lock bar, and the guillotine style blade pops open. S30V on this blade, so the edge should last quite a long time. I'm not sure how you would resharpen it. Maybe you have to send it to Benchmade. Now the cutting edge of this itself is actually chisel ground. You can see it's only ground here in on the one side, but it's flat on the other to get you hopefully a cleaner snip when you go to cut that stogie. No pocket clip on here, but why would you want one? You do, however, have a nice leather pocket slip with some nice blue stitching there that I think complements it really nicely. All right, next up we've got a new Kizer. This is of course the Gemini, ever popular design from Ray Laconico, and this is a new Vanguard version, Vanguard being some of their more budget spec'd out versions, that comes in at $75, and you've got a natural canvas micarta handle on both sides, liner lock, and N690 steel. Nice high or full flat grind on here. And just based on memory, the blade stock seems a little bit thinner than some of the other full titanium versions. So you're going to get probably even better slicing capability with this knife. The length is a little bit over 3 inches, about 3 1/8. And I've always been a fan of this design and of this shape of blade for EDC. It's just the right size. These micarta handles make it even more comfortable than it's ever been. Nice liner lock to keep it shut, or keep it open, I suppose. Ball bearings in the pivot, as you'd expect. Excellent action. You can just hear that one as well. Right side only pocket clip. This isn't reversible, unfortunately, but you do have a lanyard hole there as well. But it's just a really cool addition to the Gemini lineup, and I'm glad to see they're still doing some new things with it. Comes in about $75. I don't remember if I mentioned that or not. Also, they've got a new copper-handled version as well. Let me check the price on that for you. And that one comes in at $95. All right, next up we've got another famous designer. This is a new one from Jens Anso. This is a Fox knife. This is called the Zero, also a $75 knife. Also like that Gemini, we've got N690 steel. Biggest difference between these two, however, this is made in Italy as opposed to China for that Kizer. Now, as some of you probably remember, because I've mentioned it here and there, I'm a big fan of the Nessmuck fixed blade. You don't see a whole lot of Nessmuck inspired folders. This one, however, is a rather nice interpretation of that classic hunting profile. 2 3/4 inch on the blade there, nice upsweep to the belly, excellent slicing characteristics. This is a two-hand opener, however, which is kind of interesting. There's not even any thumb studs or anything on there. You just pinch the blade. There's plenty there to grab onto, as you can see. It does create a nice shape when it's folded up, but there's plenty to grab onto to rotate that blade open and get to work. Handles are FRN. We've got OD green as well as black. 2-position pocket clip that's pretty deep carry. And we've also got a mid-mounted lockback. Now it does say patent pending here on the lockback itself, and I've not been able to figure out why. They didn't really include much information in their literature to us. So I put it to you folks out there in the comment section. If you happen to know what they're doing differently from on this, let me know. From the inside, it certainly it looks pretty much like a normal lockback, but I don't see an external spring like you see on like some of the bucks out there. Maybe that's got something to do with it. In any case, it's just a really clean implementation of this classic lock. Well, let's keep the synthetic handled mid-mounted lockback train rolling. New Spyderco Ladybug version with glow-in-the-dark handles coming in $49. So only a couple bucks more than the standard version. Not a whole big, not very big of an upcharge for those glow-in-the-dark handles. Your blade is under 2 inches, VG10, stout flat saber grind here. Mid-mounted lockback, as I mentioned, with the Bowie dent there. And despite the small size, it is still fairly easy to open. Even me with my slightly larger than average hands and much larger than average fingers, I've got no real problem opening this. It is a little bit awkward, but not too much for me. Now, I've actually put one of these knives in one of the small survival kits that I've built in the past, one of the ones I keep in my pack when I head out. And if I were in the market for one now, I would definitely pick up this glow-in-the-dark version. I do have the orange version for visibility, but that extra glow-in-the-dark might be nice, especially in an emergency situation. But even if you don't want to put it in a survival kit, it's just a cool little keychain knife, and the glow-in-the-dark spices things up just a little bit. Now, availability on these scales isn't probably going to be super consistent. This is a distributor exclusive, some inside baseball for you guys there. So once these are gone, it probably is going to be a while before they do another batch of them. So if you want one now, I wouldn't wait too long to get your hands on one, because all the other versions of these glow-in-the-dark Spydercos have gone pretty quickly. And one more new Spyderco, another new variant of a Spyderco, I should say. A lot of the K390 lightweight knives have been coming in, and the latest to hit the shelves is the Dragonfly 2. Comes in at $98. You've got the same, just the same great Dragonfly shape. It's an excellent EDC type of size, 2.5-inch blade, or under 2.5 inches right there, but you can still get all 4 fingers on the handle because of that nice big choil right there. And then it folds up nice and small in the pocket. Wire deep carry pocket clip, although it's not actually deep carry, but it's the folded over wire pocket clip, works perfectly well on both sides. And you've heard me talk about these a lot, so I won't spend too much time on them, the K390 versions that is. But essentially you've got high performance blade steel, and normally you got to pay big bucks to get that type of material on a more expensive knife. So they've paired it with their less expensive handle construction. So you really maximize your performance for your dollar, because K390 in the terms of edge retention is about as good as you can get these days. All right, next up we got a new budget-priced Kershaw. This is the Terran, coming in about $35 right now. Nice little design. We've got about 3 1/8 inch long blade, 8CR13 MOV stainless. So you got roughly kind of AUS 8 style performance there. We've got stainless steel handles with some really cool milling going on, nice and stylish, kind of high tech. And this is a SpeedSafe assisted opening knife, SpeedSafe assisted opening flipper, in fact. So once you start to open that blade manually, the spring is going to catch it and take it the rest of the way. We've also got a deep carry pocket clip. Again, not completely deep carry, you do have some handles sticking up, but a folded over pocket clip that works on either side. And I really like the blade shape here. It's got a good profile overall, not all too dissimilar from the Kershaw Leak, which you can have for about $10 more than this knife. But there is a little bit more belly to it, so you might get a little bit of a nicer feel on longer slices. But similar to that Hawkbill, you've got a tip that's not up and away too much, so this is another type of shape that it stands a little bit less of a chance from slipping out of a cut, just not to the same degree as that Hawkbill shape for sure. But it should be a pretty cool shape for most EDC needs, and especially for a $35 knife. I really like where this knife sits. All right, that's all I've got to show you this week. Make sure to let me know what your favorites were down in the comments, and if you want to get your hands on any of them, we will, as always, leave some links in the description to take you over to KnifeCenter.com. Make sure you sign up for our Knife Rewards program too while you're over there, since if you're gonna spend your money on one of these knives, you might as well earn some free money to spend on your next one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center, signing off. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time.